What if everything you've been taught about success is backward? What if trying harder, doing more, and pushing faster is actually keeping you from the results you want? For decades, we've been fed the same advice. Work harder, manage your time better, think positive. But the most effective people don't follow this advice. They operate on completely different principles that most people never discover. Stephen Covey spent years studying successful people across every field and discovered something remarkable. Effectiveness isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things in the right order. And it all comes down to 7 habits that transform not just what you do, but who you are. Over 40 million people have read this book because these habits work. They're not quick fixes or life hacks. They're fundamental principles that create lasting change from the inside out. By the end of this video, you'll understand why most productivity advice fails, the exact sequence of habits that create true effectiveness, and how to move from dependence to independence to interdependence, the 3 stages of personal development. This isn't about getting more done. It's about becoming more effective as a human being. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The paradigm shift. Before we dive into the habits, you need to understand why most self-improvement fails. It's treating symptoms while ignoring the root cause. Most advice focuses on personality, what Covey calls the personality ethic. It's about techniques, quick fixes, and social image. It's about learning to manipulate situations and people to get what you want. Think positive. Fake it till you make it. Here are 5 tricks to influence anyone. This approach might create short-term results, but it always fails long-term. Why? Because it's built on a shallow foundation. You can't fake character. You can't sustain success built on manipulation. The truly effective people operate from a different paradigm, the character ethic. This is about fundamental principles like integrity, humility, courage, justice, patience, and simplicity. These are universal truths that govern effectiveness. You can't violate these principles and expect lasting success any more than you can violate the law of gravity and expect to fly. Principles are natural laws. You can either align with them or suffer the consequences of resisting them. Here's the critical insight. The way you see the world determines how you behave. Change your paradigm, your lens for viewing reality, and you change your behavior. Change your behavior consistently, and you change your results. Most people try to change their circumstances or other people. Highly effective people start by changing themselves. They work from the inside out, not the outside in. This is the fundamental shift that makes everything else possible. You can't solve problems at the level of thinking that created them. You need a new paradigm. You need to see differently before you can act differently. The 7 habits are the pathway to this transformation. They move you through 3 stages, from dependence to independence to interdependence. Each stage builds on the previous one. Private victory precedes public victory. You must win the battle with yourself before you can win in the world. Chapter 2, Habit 1. Be proactive. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom to choose your response. And in your response lies your growth and your happiness. This is the first and most fundamental habit. Be proactive. It's the foundation for all other habits. Most people are reactive. Life happens to them. When things go well, they're happy. When things go poorly, they're miserable. Their emotional weather is determined by the social weather around them. When people treat them well, they feel good. When people criticize them, they feel terrible. Reactive people are driven by feelings, circumstances, conditions, and their environment. They build their emotional lives on the behavior of others, giving those people control over them. Proactive people recognize they have freedom to choose their response. They're responsible, able to choose their response. They don't surrender their emotional well-being to circumstances or other people's behavior. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi death camps, demonstrated this principle at its extreme. Everything was taken from him, his family, his freedom, his possessions. Yet he recognized that his captors could not take away his fundamental human freedom, the ability to choose his response. You have the same freedom, not to control what happens to you, but to control what happens within you. Your boss can control your schedule, but not your attitude. Traffic can delay you, but not determine your emotional state. Other people can criticize you, but they cannot define you. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence, things they can control. Reactive people focus on their circle of concern, things they can't control. As a result, reactive people feel powerless. Proactive people expand their influence. This shows up in language. Reactive people say, "There's nothing I can do. That's just who I am. They make me so mad." Proactive people say, "Let's explore options. I can choose a different approach. I control my reactions." Being proactive means taking responsibility for your life, not blaming circumstances, conditions, or conditioning for your behavior. You are the programmer. You write the program. You decide. This is the hardest habit and the most liberating. The moment you accept complete responsibility for your life is the moment you gain complete power to change it. Chapter 3. Habit 2-. Begin with the end in mind. If the ladder is not leaning against the right wall, every step you take gets you to the wrong place faster. Habit 2 is about defining your destination before you start your journey. It's about beginning each day, task, or project with a clear vision of your desired direction and destination. Most people are incredibly busy, but not effective. They're climbing the ladder of success only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. They achieve goals that don't align with what truly matters to them. Beginning with the end in mind means understanding your values and creating a personal mission statement, a constitution for your life. This becomes your frame of reference for every decision. Covey suggests a powerful exercise. Imagine your own funeral. You're sitting in the audience watching. 4 speakers approach: a family member, a friend, a work colleague, and someone from your community. What would you want each of them to say about you? What contributions do you want to be remembered for? Most people realize their daily priorities don't align with what they'd want said at their funeral. They're majoring in minor things. They're spending time on what's urgent instead of what's important. Your personal mission statement clarifies what's truly important. It becomes your constitution, a timeless statement of your values and your vision. Then, all decisions can be measured against it. Is this opportunity aligned with my mission? Does this use of time reflect my values? Am I being who I want to be? Leadership is different from management. Management is about climbing the ladder efficiently. Leadership is about ensuring the ladder is against the right wall. You can be efficient with the wrong things and waste your entire life. All things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. You design a house before you build it. You write a speech before you deliver it. You plan a trip before you take it. But most people never consciously design their lives. They accept default programming from childhood, society, and circumstances. They live reactively, not proactively. Beginning with the end in mind means you consciously create your life blueprint. You decide what matters. You choose your destination. Then you organize your life around those choices. Without a clear end in mind, You become easy prey for other people's agendas. You spend your life achieving goals that someone else defined as important. Begin with your end in mind. Then, every day becomes a purposeful step toward that destination. Chapter 4, Habit 3, Put first things first. Knowing your destination is useless if you never actually move toward it. Habit 3 is about execution, managing yourself to do what matters most. Most time management systems are about managing time. But you can't manage time. You can only manage yourself. The question isn't, how do I fit more into my schedule? It's, what deserves my time? Covey introduces the time management matrix with 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent and important reces, deadlines, emergency. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important, prevention, relationship building, personal development. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important, interruptions, some calls, some mail. Quadrant 4, not urgent and not important, wasters, busy work, trivial activities. Most people spend their time in quadrants 1 and 3, reacting to urgent matters. When they burn out from crisis mode, they escape to quadrant 4 to recover. They almost never operate in quadrant 2. But quadrant 2 is where effectiveness lives. This is where you prevent crises through planning, where you build relationships before you need them, where you sharpen your saw before it gets dull, where you invest in yourself before you're depleted. The problem? Quadrant 2 activities are never urgent. They can always be delayed. And because they're never screaming for attention, they get neglected while urgent matters consume your day. Highly effective people organize their lives around quadrant 2. They schedule time for planning, prevention, preparation, and personal development. They say no to quadrant 3 and 4 fee activities to protect time for what truly matters. This requires courage because it means saying no to seemingly urgent matters. It means declining meetings that don't serve your mission. It means disappointing people who expect immediate responses. It means protecting your priorities against the tyranny of the urgent. The key is weekly planning, not daily planning. Look at the week ahead. Identify your roles: errand, spouse, manager, friend, individual. Set 2 to 3 important goals for each role. Schedule them first, then fit everything else around them. Most people schedule the trivial and hope to fit in the important. Effective people schedule the important and let the trivial fight for whatever time remains. Putting first things first requires integrity, the ability to make and keep commitments to yourself. It requires discipline, doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. This is private victory, taking control of yourself. Habits 1, 2, and 3 move you from dependence to independence. You become self-reliant, responsible, and directed by principle rather than emotion. But independence is not the ultimate goal. Interdependence is. Chapter 5, Habit 4, 9 is think win-win. Life is not a zero-sum game. Your success doesn't require my failure. Win-win is the paradigm that makes collaboration possible. Most people operate from one of 5 paradigms: win-lose, I win, you lose. This is authoritarian, competitive thinking. Most of society trains us this way. Sports, academics, business. Someone wins, someone loses. Lose-win, you win, I lose. This is the doormat mentality. People pleasers who give in to keep the peace. They bury their feelings until they eventually explode or become passive-aggressive. Lose-lose. If I can't win, I'll make sure you don't either. This is spite and revenge. Destructive people who would rather both parties suffer than see the other succeed. Win. I want to win. I don't care if you win or lose. This is individualistic thinking. You secure your win without concern for others. Win-win. I want to win, and I want you to win too. This is the paradigm of abundance. the belief that there's enough for everyone, that success is not a finite pie. When both parties win, the relationship strengthens and future collaboration becomes easier. Win-win requires high courage and high consideration. You must care about your own interests and the other person's interests. Most people are strong in one, but weak in the other. Win-lose people have high courage but low consideration. They fight for their win without regard for others. Lose-win people have high consideration but low courage. They cave to keep harmony, then resent the outcome. Win-win requires both. You speak up for what you need. You also listen to understand what they need. Then you collaborate to find solutions that serve both parties. This only works if you have an abundance mentality, the belief that resources, success, and recognition are not scarce. If you believe there's only one pie, you'll fight over slices. If you believe we can bake more pies, you'll collaborate. Scarcity mentality says, if you win, I lose. Abundance mentality says, your success doesn't diminish mine. Win-win is the foundation of effective leadership, negotiation, and relationships. It creates trust. It builds long-term partnerships. It makes future interactions easier because both parties leave satisfied. Sometimes, win-win isn't possible. When that happens, the best option is no deal. Agreeing to disagree without damaging the relationship. This is better than forcing a win-lose that creates resentment. Think win-win in every interaction. Seek mutual benefit. Make deposits in the emotional bank account of relationships. When both parties win, everyone wins. Chapter 6, Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. This is one of the most transformative habits because it changes how you communicate. Instead of projecting your autobiography onto others, you genuinely seek to understand their perspective first. Covey identifies 4 levels of listening: ignoring, not listening at all; pretending, making sounds like you're listening but not actually processing anything; selective listening, hearing parts that interest you, ignoring the rest; attentive listening, paying attention and focusing energy on the words being said. But there's a 5th level that changes everything: empathic listening. Empathic listening means listening with the intent to understand, emotionally and intellectually. You're not listening to judge, advise, or interpret. You're listening to understand their frame of reference, their feelings, their paradigm. This is incredibly rare. Most people give autobiographical responses. You say, I'm exhausted from work. They say, I know exactly how you feel. Let me tell you about my week. That's not understanding. That's projecting. Empathic listening means reflecting back what you hear, both content and feeling, until the other person feels genuinely understood. Only then can you be understood. Here's why this works. People won't listen to you until they feel heard by you. If you jump straight to presenting your views, they're not really listening. They're defending their position or preparing their counterargument. But if you first understand them deeply, something remarkable happens. Their defenses lower. They trust you. Now they're genuinely open to understanding your perspective. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Diagnose before you prescribe. You wouldn't trust a doctor who prescribed medication before examining you. Yet people give advice constantly without understanding the situation. They rush to fix problems they don't understand. In relationships, being understood is a deep human need. When you genuinely seek to understand someone, you're making a massive deposit in their emotional bank account. They feel valued, respected, and heard. This principle transforms parenting, marriage, leadership, and negotiation. Stop trying to be understood first. Invest the time to truly understand. Then, from that foundation of mutual understanding, you can find solutions that work for both parties. Chapter 7. Habit 6. Synergize. When you combine win-win thinking with empathic listening. 5. Something magical becomes possible. Synergy. Synergy means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 plus 1 equals 3 or 10 or 100. Together we can create something neither of us could create alone. But synergy only happens in an atmosphere of trust. Without trust, people defend their positions. Communication becomes win-lose. Ego dominates. Creativity dies. With trust, people open up. They share ideas without fear of judgment. They build on each other's thoughts. They create third alternatives, solutions better than anything either person originally proposed. Third alternative thinking moves beyond my way or your way to our way, a better way that neither person initially envisioned. This requires valuing differences. Most people see differences as obstacles. They want everyone to think like them. Synergy sees differences as opportunities. If you and I agree on everything, one of us is unnecessary. The fact that we see things differently means we have different strengths, perspectives, and insights. Together, we have a more complete picture. Mental, emotional, and psychological differences should be celebrated, not just tolerated. Your weaknesses are likely my strengths. My blind spots are likely your strengths. Together, we're more than either of us individually. Synergy shows up in families when parents and children communicate openly and create solutions together. It shows up in business when diverse teams collaborate and innovate. It shows up in communities when people transcend individual interests to create collective good. But it requires vulnerability. You have to admit you don't have all the answers. You have to value others' input. You have to check your ego at the door. The fruit of synergy is exponential. Problems that seemed unsolvable suddenly have elegant solutions. Conflicts transform into creative opportunities. Groups accomplish what individuals never could. Habits 4, 5, and 6 are the habits of interdependence, public victory. You've achieved private victory through habits 1, 2, and 3. Now you multiply your effectiveness through collaboration. Independence says, I can do it. Interdependence says, we can do something better together. This is the paradigm shift from me to we, from my success to our success. The most effective people are interdependent. They maintain their independence. They can stand alone. But they choose to work with others because they recognize that together they can achieve more than any individual could alone. Chapter 8. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Imagine you come across someone struggling to saw down a tree. They're exhausted, making little progress. You suggest they take a break to sharpen their saw. I don't have time to sharpen the saw. They reply, I'm too busy sawing. This is most people's approach to life. They're so busy producing results that they don't maintain their production capability. Eventually, they burn out or break down. Habit 7 is about renewal, preserving and enhancing your greatest asset, yourself. It's about continuously improving in 4 dimensions: physical, exercise, nutrition, and stress management. Your body is the tool you use to accomplish everything. If you neglect it, your effectiveness decreases. Regular exercise, healthy eating, and adequate rest aren't luxuries. They're necessities for sustained effectiveness. Mental, reading, writing, planning, and visualizing. Your mind needs stimulation and growth. Most people's mental development stops after formal education. Highly effective people are continuous learners. They read, take courses, and challenge themselves intellectually throughout life. Social, emotional, service, empathy, synergy, and intrinsic security. Your emotional health and relationships require investment. Make deposits in emotional bank accounts. Practice the other 6 habits. Connect with others meaningfully. Don't let important relationships wither from neglect. Spiritual, value clarification, commitment, study, and meditation. Your spiritual dimension is your core, your center, your commitment to your value system. This is what gives you direction, purpose, and the strength to remain principle-centered in the face of pressure. These 4 dimensions are interconnected. Neglect one, and the others suffer. Strengthen one, and the others benefit. The key is balance and regular renewal. You can't cram all your renewal into one weekend per year. You need daily renewal in each dimension. Maybe you exercise 3 times per week for physical renewal. Read 30 minutes daily for mental renewal. Have weekly date nights for social renewal. Meditate or journal each morning for spiritual renewal. This isn't selfish. This is survival. You can't give what you don't have. An empty well can't water anyone. By renewing yourself, you increase your capacity to contribute. Sharpening the saw creates upward spiral growth. As you renew yourself in all 4 dimensions, each habit reinforces the others. You become increasingly proactive, clear about your mission, disciplined in priorities, collaborative in relationships, and creative in solutions. The 7 habits work together synergistically. Each depends on the others. Each strengthens the others. Together, they create a life of effectiveness and meaning. These 7 habits aren't a quick fix. They're a fundamental paradigm shift from the inside out, from dependence to independence to interdependence, from reacting to proacting, from busyness to effectiveness. Let's recap. Habit 1.
Be proactive. Take responsibility for your life. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Define your values and vision. Habit 3. Put first things first. Execute on your priorities. Habit 4. Think win-win. Seek mutual benefit. Habit 5.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen empathically. Habit 6.
Synergize. Create through collaboration. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Renew yourself continuously. The first 3 habits achieve private victory, self-mastery.
The next 3 achieve public victory, relationship mastery. The 7th maintains and grows your capacity for the first 6. Over 40 million people have read this book because these principles work, not as quick fixes, but as fundamental truths that create lasting change. You can't fake your way to effectiveness. You have to become effective from the inside out. You have to develop character, not just personality. You have to align with principles, not just techniques. Starting today, pick one habit to work on. Don't try to implement all 7 at once. Master one habit over 30 days until it becomes natural. Then move to the next. Most people will read this and do nothing. They'll think that's interesting and return to their reactive, urgent, addicted, ineffective patterns. Don't be most people. Choose to be proactive. Choose to begin. Choose to prioritize. Choose to collaborate. Choose to renew. These are choices only you can make. If this video gave you insights that will change how you live and work, hit that like button and subscribe for more content on effectiveness and personal development. Drop a comment and tell me, which habit will you start implementing today? Remember, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Your destiny begins with your habits. Choose wisely. Act consistently. The life you want is built one habit at a time. Now, go be effective.